What up, gamers? Today's video is going over the Recluse SMG. Great SMG, I dare say my favorite SMG in the game currently, but is it still the best SMG? So the true purpose of this video is to test whether or not the Recluse is still the king of SMGs within Destiny 2. If you didn't already know or you're new to Destiny 2, the Recluse is one of the prized pinnacle weapons of Destiny 2 that you acquire by collecting the bounty from shacks and obtaining the Fabled rank in competitive Crucible, so survival or elimination. You'll need to reach 2100 glory in order to reach Fabled and complete the quest that actually used to be more of a grind than it is now. Either way, the Recluse is still a great SMG in both PvE and PvP, but I wanted to run it through the ringer with the other SMGs in the game and see where it falls in the lineup. It's definitely not where it used to be after the nerf it took on its damage perk into Season 9, but like I said, I wanted to see where it falls in line with some other options in the game in our current season. And with sunsetting coming in Season 12, I wanted to provide y'all with some other options you could utilize, especially within that kinetic slot. So let's look at the lineup of all the SMGs we'll be testing in today's video. First up, of course, is the Recluse with its standard locked-in perk of Feeding Frenzy and its exclusive perk of Master of Arms. And FYI, if you want to know about the weapon damage perks in the game, be sure to check out my video on best weapon damage perks on the channel. Click the card up top at the end or the link down in the description box below. Anyways, back to the SMGs. So then we have the Trackless Waste, Exit Strategy, Hard Truce, Pillager, the Callous Mini Tool, which is a great combo with the Midas Scout Rifle by the way, Bug Out Bag from Gambit and the Reckoning, Recluse SMG from Escalation Protocol on Mars, the new 7th Seraph VY7 that came to us within this season of Worthy, which I believe will also be gone when the season is over next week, and we have, last but not least, the Every Waking Moment SMG that you can acquire from the Moon. And yes, just for you guys that are already typing in the comment section, I know there are other SMGs within the game and that are out there that are very viable, but I wanted to offer up SMG options that you can acquire quite easily within the game, such as the Trackless Waste, Hard Truce, and Callous Mini Tool, which can all be acquired from the Menagerie on Nessus. So looking at the lineup, the first thing I want to draw your eyes to is recoil and stability. The Recluse itself showcasing a recoil stat of 100 and a stability stat of 52, which means that the Recluse is basically a laser beam within Destiny 2, especially on mouse and keyboard. It's just simply an easy SMG to control even when on controller while both ADSing or hip firing your target. By far the worst SMG to control in this group is the Hard Truce SMG, as you can see it drops double digits in both stat categories. So if you happen to be farming a Hard Truce, Zen Moment and Ricochet rounds for stability will help a lot in minimizing its reticle bounce, but the gun does have an amazing range which we'll touch on later. But after playing with all these SMGs, the closest to the Recluse stability wise has been the Trackless Waste and the 7th Seraph VY7 in my opinion. Of course, this could also be because I rolled my Trackless Waste with Tap the Trigger and the VY7 with Firmly Planted that helped immensely in keeping my shots on point even at range. The Pillager and Exit Strategy are both up there in ease of use as well. In any case, whatever SMG you rock, stability and control are important as you want to ensure you keep your shots on target. I'm sure I don't need to say this, but this is of course because if you're missing your shots, then the TTK and DPS numbers that I provide you won't mean jack if you're not hitting your target. Speaking of TTK, let's go ahead and showcase the numbers of each SMG to you Crucible grinders. So when looking at this table, the best SMGs at base damage TTK, meaning all body shots, is the Hard Truce and surprisingly the Recluse SMG. But when taking into account headshots, the Recluse, Pillager, and Callous Mini Tool take the top spot at a 0.7 second TTK. Now when taking into account damage perks TTK of each weapon, you have to realize these won't happen that often with other SMGs besides the Recluse due to its perks ease of use. With Swashbuckler, you'll need 5 kills in short duration or a melee kill to proc the max damage I'm showcasing within this table. Kill Clip, you'll have to kill an enemy and then reload your weapon before being able to use it, but with the Recluse's perk Master of Arms, a kill with any weapon including the Recluse will proc this damage buff. So advantage to the Recluse is that in any given scenario you'll have this Master of Arms perk procced, allowing you additional damage the majority of the time as long as you're getting kills with weapons. Next thing we need to factor in is range. And it's important to note that a range stat number is tied to their specific weapon frames within each archetype. So for instance, in the table you can see that the Trackless Waste and Hard Truce have very similar ranges as far as stats go. Trackless showcasing a range of 68 and the Hard Truce at a 70. But after testing you can see that the Trackless Waste damage drop-off starts after 12 meters while the Hard Truce damage won't drop off until 21 meters. And this is simply because the Trackless Waste is an adaptive frame while the Hard Truce is an aggressive frame. Honestly though, 21 meters is rather insane for an SMG, but this is likely why Hard Truce has some major recoil tied to it that will decrease the probability of you hitting all your shots at that range. In any case though, we can see that the Recluse sits at a max range of 13 meters before its damage drop-offs, placing it in line with the other close quarter SMGs within the test. We can also see from this table that when Feeding Frenzy is procced after a kill, it is by far the best reload perk to have in the game, as both the VY7 and Recluse are rocking close to 1 second reload times with this perk active. So if you had a SMG or small arms loader mod equipped, you could reduce the reload time right under 1 second. But as we know, Feeding Frenzy will change come Season 12 and will no longer be as viable as it is in PvP as it is now, as you won't proc its max potential until achieving 5 kills, which will once again slightly nerf the Recluse's potential in game. Of course, sunsetting will start to take place at the same time, so we'll just have to wait and see where the Recluse falls in line when the time comes. But Feeding Frenzy perk will still be very viable in PvE, as it's not hard to maintain multiple kills on rank and file combatants. Which leads me into the PvE table. So to keep consistency in our numbers, these stats are all from the good old Ogre test dummy within the Tribute Hall. Alright, we've spoken about stability and control of each SMG, we've touched on range and the TTK values of each weapon in PvP. In a PvE setting, knowing the damage values per bullet really isn't going to help you much, which is why I need to showcase a DPS graph so you can truly see where the Recluse stands amongst its brethren. What you see here is all the base damage stats of each SMG in play. No perks for reloads or damage are showcased within this graph. So when looking at base damage stats, we can see that the sustained damage goes to the Trackless Waste and Pillager on the top, followed by Bug Out Bag and the rest of the lot following behind. The Recluse at its base level is actually at the lower end of the SMG pack here, given that there are no perks active. Which again, keep in mind, this is in the time frame of 20 seconds of non-stop damage with all body shots, so not really a probable scenario, but this is just to give you an idea of each weapon's capabilities. If we zoom in and compare burst DPS, we can see that all of the SMGs are very similar when it comes to burst damage, but the Trackless Waste and Hard Truce just barely take the top spots as far as base damage goes. Now this is all good and fun, but in reality you're going to be proccing your damage and reload perks quite often on your weapons, especially on the Recluse once you start racking in kills. When we add in the perks of each weapon, a whole different story unfolds depending on the perks within each SMG. Regarding the weapons used in the test, Exit Strategy wipes the floor with sustained damage with both Swashbuckler and Threat Detector active, followed by Trackless Waste with Kill Clips and the Recluse with its Feeding Frenzy and Master of Arms perks. When zooming in on burst damage, the Recluse is again around the middle of the pack, not taking ground until getting that first reload off. But remember, the graph I'm showing you is considering that all damage and reload perks are active all of the time. And the only true SMG that can allow for that currently is the Recluse, due to Feeding Frenzy currently only needing 1 kill to proc, and Master of Arms needing only 1 kill from any weapon to activate. Which means that in reality, the Recluse is still going to outpace every one of these SMGs, because Swashbuckler still either requires a melee or 5 kills to reach its max potential. Rampage needs 3 kills within 3 seconds of each other to reach its 25% max buff, and with Kill Clip you have to reload after a kill before it activates. So the Recluse again still by far has the easiest perks to proc within Destiny 2 to date. You get an even clearer story when we take into account crit damage for each SMG. Looking at a 10-second frame of damage, we see that the Recluse still falls in the middle of the pack when no perks are active. But once again, when we take into account perks being activated, we can see the Recluse just steal the show and sustain damage. And again, keep in mind, this graph is considering that the perks are constantly active, which we already know are easiest and most consistent to proc with the Recluse. So with all that in mind, overall I can still claim that the Recluse is still the king of SMGs, but there are still some other very close viable options to choose from within the game. And when sunsetting comes into play in Season 12, along with these perk changes that are supposed to come, we will definitely see some changes in what is utilized more within the game. But until that time, the Recluse should definitely be your top priority of acquiring for both PvE and PvP content. But if you're looking for a kinetic slot alternative, the Pillager, Exit Strategy, and Trackless Waste are great options to have when not running an SMG in the energy slot. Although at this time I have found a newfound love for the Trackless Waste, as it just feels so smooth with the right perks rolled on it. Energy slot wise though, besides the Recluse, there's really no other solid alternative replacement in that category. Maybe the Bug Out Bag, but even then the God Roll perks perks are still they don't compare to the perks and stability of the Recluse. Plus, many of the SMGs tested here will be sunsetted instantly going into Season 12 when it takes effect. So currently, rock the Recluse to your heart's content, and let's hope and pray Bungie provides us with some solid alternatives once sunsetting does take effect here in Season 12. But gents, ladies, there you have it. The Recluse is still king of SMGs currently, and here's hoping we drop into the next season with a bang. Lord knows there wasn't much to go on this season besides some cool shotguns and Warmite builds. But as usual, if you enjoyed the content, drop the video a like and tap fire subscribe for more tests within Destiny 2. Until next time, gamers, this is Sir Mav, signing off.